For millennia, humanity has ventured across the vast, unpredictable expanse of the world's oceans. These journeys, driven by exploration, trade, and, sheer curiosity, have always been fraught with peril. Hidden beneath the waves lie unseen dangers. Great jagged rocks capable of tearing a hull asunder, deceptively shallow coves that can trap an unwary vessel, and treacherous coastlines that offer no safe harbor. To navigate these hazards, we erected sentinels of light, beacons of hope against the crushing power of the sea. These are the lighthouses, built to warn ships and guide them safely to shore, their solitary beams cutting through the darkest of nights. But what of the lighthouses themselves? To be effective, they must often be placed in the most dangerous, most inhospitable, and most hard-to-reach locations imaginable. They stand on isolated sea stacks, cling to storm-battered cliffs, and rise from the very heart of the turbulent waters they are meant to tame. The story of these structures is one of extraordinary human ingenuity, courage, and a relentless battle against the forces of nature. They are monuments to our determination to conquer the wild frontiers of our own planet, often at a tremendous cost. The men and women who built and maintained these outposts faced unimaginable challenges, enduring isolation, violent storms, and the constant threat of the very elements they sought to defy. Their legacy is etched into the stone and iron of these incredible structures, each one with its own tale of survival and sometimes of tragedy. So, prepare yourselves for a journey to the edge of the world. Put on your life jackets, it's time to join me as we begin today's video: 15 lighthouses in dangerous environments. Our journey begins on the shores of Lake Michigan in the United States, at the St. Joseph North Pier Inner and Outer Lights. In the calmer months, a long pier provides a seemingly straightforward walkway to these vital beacons. But when winter descends upon the Great Lakes, this benign structure transforms into a scene of both breathtaking beauty and extreme peril. Frigid winds whip the lake's waters into a frenzy, sending spray high into the air. This spray freezes almost instantly upon contact with the pier and the lighthouse, encasing them in layer upon layer of ice. The result is a fantastical ice palace, a sculpture carved by nature's harshest elements. Yet, this beauty conceals a deadly trap. The walkway becomes a treacherous, uneven landscape of solid ice, making any attempt to approach the lighthouse on foot a life-threatening gamble. A single misstep could send a keeper plunging into the lethally cold water below. The sheer weight of the accumulated ice, sometimes several feet thick, also puts immense strain on the structure, a constant silent pressure threatening to bring the entire edifice down. It is a stark reminder that even on inland waters, nature's power is a force to be respected. We now travel to the tempestuous North Atlantic, off the coast of Iceland, to witness one of the most isolated and precariously placed lighthouses on Earth, Thridrangaviti. Its name translates to 3 rock pillars, and that is precisely where it stands, perched impossibly atop the tallest of 3 basalt sea stacks rising sheer from the churning ocean. From a distance, it appears as a tiny, fragile structure, utterly at the mercy of the colossal waves and screaming winds that relentlessly assault its rocky perch, some 120 feet above the sea. The story of its construction in 1938 is a testament to human audacity. In an era before helicopters, a team of mountaineers had to scale the sheer, slippery rock face, a climb that would challenge even the most experienced climbers today. They established footholds and hauled materials up by hand, battling vertigo and the constant threat of being swept away by the wind. For years, accessing this outpost required a perilous rope climb. Now, a helicopter provides the only viable link to the outside world, a tiny landing pad testament to the extreme isolation its keepers once endured. On the North Sea coast of Jutland, Denmark, stood a lighthouse engaged in a slow, desperate battle not with the sea, but with the land itself. The Rubjerg Knud Lighthouse, built in 1900, was originally constructed a safe 200 meters inland, atop a 60-meter-high cliff. However, the coastal landscape here is a dynamic, ever-shifting entity. The relentless wind carried tons of sand from the cliffs, creating a massive, migrating dune that began to slowly, inexorably, swallow the lighthouse. For decades, the structure fought a losing battle. The encroaching sand buried the smaller surrounding buildings and began to climb the tower itself. The light was extinguished in 1968, as it was no longer visible from the sea. and the relentless erosion of the cliff face meant the entire structure was projected to collapse into the sea by 2023. In a remarkable feat of engineering in 2019, the entire 720-ton lighthouse was put on wheels and rails and painstakingly moved 70 meters inland, a temporary reprieve in its long war against the forces of erosion. It stands today as a monument to both the power of nature and our determination to preserve our history. Our next destination takes us to the island of Saaremaa, in Estonia, to a lighthouse that has seemingly surrendered to the sea. The Keepsar Lighthouse was built solidly on the peninsula in 1933, a sturdy concrete beacon standing nearly 2 kilometers from the shore. But here, as in Denmark, the coast is a fickle and dynamic environment. Storms and persistent wave action began to aggressively erode the peninsula on which the lighthouse stood, washing the land away from its foundations. Over the years, the sea advanced relentlessly. The lighthouse that once stood on solid ground soon found itself on the shoreline, and then, completely surrounded by water. The waves, no longer buffered by land, began to scour the earth from beneath its foundation, causing the entire structure to tilt at a dramatic angle. It earned the nickname, the Leaning Tower of Saaremaa, a bizarre and striking landmark. Though it was decommissioned, its story serves as a powerful illustration of how quickly and dramatically the sea can reclaim the land, transforming a bastion of safety into a haunting, submerged ruin. We venture now into the realm of enduring mystery, to the Flannan Isles, a remote and uninhabited archipelago in the Outer Hebrides of Scotland. It is a place notorious for its ferocious storms and a deep sense of isolation. In December 1900, a passing ship noted that the light on Eilean Mor, the largest of the islands, was not lit. A relief vessel, the Hesperus, was dispatched to investigate. What it found has become one of the greatest maritime mysteries of all time. Upon arrival, the relief keeper found the lighthouse empty. The 3 keepers, Thomas Marshall, James Duckett, and Donald MacArthur, had vanished without a trace. The clocks had stopped, a meal was left half-eaten on the table, and a chair was overturned, suggesting a hasty departure. The only clues were the keepers' logs, which spoke of a terrible storm, with winds the likes of which they had never seen, and one keeper weeping in terror. Yet, the final entry noted the storm had passed, and all was calm. No bodies were ever found. The sea around Flannan Isle guards its secrets well, leaving only speculation about the fate of the 3 men who disappeared from their lonely post. We now travel far north, beyond the Arctic Circle, to the northernmost mainland lighthouse in the world, Sleipnes Lighthouse in Norway. Standing on the barren, windswept coast of the Barents Sea, this cast-iron tower endures some of the most extreme conditions on the planet. For months on end, it is plunged into the polar night, its beam the only point of light in a vast expanse of darkness, ice, and snow. The temperatures here are brutal, and the winds can be hurricane force, driving blizzards that reduce visibility to 0. This lighthouse is not just a survivor of the elements, but also of human conflict. During World War II, the retreating German army attempted to demolish it, but the sturdy iron structure withstood the blasts, suffering damage but refusing to fall. It was repaired and stands today as a symbol of resilience. To serve here required a special kind of fortitude, battling not just the storms and the cold, but the profound psychological toll of isolation in a landscape of perpetual twilight, where the only company for months on end was the howling of the Arctic wind and the ethereal dance of the northern lights. Our travels take us to the Aegean Sea, near the Greek island of Andros, where a lighthouse seems to have been plucked from the pages of a fantasy novel. The Torlitis Lighthouse is a breathtaking sight, a slender, spiraling stone tower built upon a solitary stone column that juts out of the sea. It is the only lighthouse in Europe built entirely on its own, on a sea rock with no surrounding land, its winding staircase carved directly into the stone, appearing almost as if it grew organically from the waves. The original structure, built in 1897, was a testament to the audacity of its builders. However, it was destroyed during World War II. In the 1990s, it was rebuilt as an exact replica, a gift to the island from a wealthy oil magnate in memory of his daughter. While its appearance is one of whimsical beauty, its foundation is a point of constant concern. The very rock it stands upon is vulnerable to the ceaseless erosion of the sea, with the ever-present risk that the waves will one day undermine its base, sending this fairy tale tower tumbling into the depths from which it so magically appears to rise. We return to the United States, to the coast of Northern California, to what is arguably the most expensive and deadliest lighthouse ever built in the country, St. George Reef Lighthouse. Dubbed the Rock long before Alcatraz, its construction was a 10-year epic of death and disaster. The reef it marks is a treacherous place, 6 miles offshore, constantly battered by the violent Pacific. During its construction, several workers were swept to their deaths by rogue waves. The project was so dangerous it earned the name the Widowmaker. Completed in 1892, the lighthouse's ordeal was far from over. It stands directly in the path of some of the most ferocious storms on the West Coast. In 1952, a monstrous storm generated waves so powerful they smashed through the lantern room windows, 160 feet above sea level, flooding the tower and terrorizing the keepers trapped inside. The high death toll during its construction and the constant violent battering it has endured throughout its service make St. George Reef a chilling monument to the price paid for maritime safety. It stands isolated and abandoned now, a granite tombstone on a deadly reef. Returning to the Great Lakes, we visit the Cleveland West Pierhead Lighthouse in Ohio. Much like its counterpart in St. Joseph, this lighthouse undergoes a dramatic and dangerous transformation each winter. Positioned at the end of a pier on Lake Erie, it bears the full brunt of Arctic winds and freezing spray. As temperatures plummet, the lighthouse is gradually encased in a thick, surreal shell of ice, turning it into a structure that looks more like a fantastical ice castle than a functional navigational aid. While visually stunning, this annual phenomenon poses a significant threat. The sheer weight of the ice, which can accumulate to tons, places immense structural stress on the century-old building. There's a constant, underlying risk that the weight could become too much, causing the tower to crack, shift, or even topple into the frozen lake. For the keepers who once had to maintain it, reaching the light in these conditions meant navigating a dangerously slick and unpredictable surface, where the beauty of the ice castle masked the very real danger of a fatal slip into the frigid waters of Lake Erie. Off the coast of Oregon lies a single, foreboding basalt sea stack known as Tillamook Rock. Atop it sits a lighthouse with a reputation so grim it was nicknamed Terrible Tilly. The project to build a lighthouse here was met with extreme reluctance. Local quarrymen, viewing the rock as a place of death and evil spirits, refused the job. The initial surveyor was swept out to sea and drowned, a dark omen for the project to come. Construction was a nightmare, with workers living in canvas tents bolted to the rock, constantly soaked by freezing spray and battered by storms. Once operational, life for the keepers was no less hazardous. The isolation was maddening, and the storms were, honestly, just terrifying. One legendary storm in 1880 hurled a 135-pound rock through the roof of the keeper's quarters, over 100 feet above the sea. The lighthouse was eventually decommissioned, its light extinguished, and it was sold to become a columbarium, a storage place for the ashes of the dead. It is a fittingly macabre end for a place that was, for so long, synonymous with misery, danger, and death, a true fortress of despair against the relentless Pacific. Our journey now takes us to the extreme southwestern edge of the British Isles, to the Isles of Scilly. Here, 28 miles off the coast of Cornwall, stands Bishop Rock Lighthouse, listed by Guinness World Records as the world's smallest island with a building on it. The island is, in fact, nothing more than a tiny, jagged rock pinnacle, exposed to the full, untamed fury of the Atlantic Ocean. The seas here are so consistently violent that the first attempt to build a lighthouse, an iron structure, was washed away completely before it was even lit. The current tower, a magnificent granite structure completed in 1858, was a marvel of Victorian engineering. Workers could only operate during the calmest of conditions, which were, honestly, few and far between. They toiled on a rock barely large enough to stand on, with the constant threat of being swept away. For the keepers who manned this post, life was one of utter isolation and confinement. During fierce storms, waves would break clear over the top of the 161-foot tower, making the entire structure shudder and groan, a constant terrifying reminder of their precarious position, alone in the middle of a raging sea. We cross the English Channel to the coast of Brittany, France, a region notorious for its violent storms and treacherous waters. Here, we find La Jument, a lighthouse that has become an icon of the struggle between man and sea, thanks to one extraordinary photograph. Built on a submerged rock, Known as the Mer, La Jument in French, the lighthouse is exposed to the full might of the Atlantic's winter gales. The waves that strike this tower are not merely large, they are colossal liquid mountains that seem to swallow the structure whole. In 1989, photographer Jean Guichard captured a now-famous image during a massive storm. A gigantic wave is seen enveloping the tower just as the keeper, Teder Malgorn, Bo tinu de dan bo do sopam, obendaum bain dein steinsoren. Sekatstein shrine sea. Door to look out, alerted by the sound of the helicopter. The image perfectly encapsulates the terrifying power of the ocean and the apparent fragility of the man in his stone sanctuary. For keepers at La Jument, this was life. They lived with the constant roar and shudder of the sea, knowing that their granite home was the only thing standing between them and the crushing force of the waves just outside. Midway between the Isles of Scilly and the Cornish mainland lies a single, menacing fang of rock that barely breaks the surface at high tide. This is Wolf Rock, so named because of the mournful howling sound the wind makes as it is forced through a natural fissure. Building a lighthouse here was deemed nearly impossible. The rock is small, submerged for long periods, and situated in one of the most turbulent stretches of water in the English Channel. The construction, which took from 1861 to 1869, was a Herculean effort. Each granite block had to be individually shaped to dovetail into the blocks around it, creating an immensely strong interlocked structure. Workers, suspended in a basket from a crane, could only land on the rock and work for a few precious hours during low tide and the calmest weather. The finished tower is a masterpiece of precision and endurance, a granite sentinel that has to withstand waves that exert a pressure of over 3 tons per square foot. It is a lonely, defiant outpost against the relentless wolf of the sea. Our penultimate stop is off the coast of County Cork, Ireland at Fastnet Rock. This is often the last piece of Ireland or Europe that emigrants would see on their voyage to America, earning it the poignant nickname Ireland's Teardrop. But sentimentality is lost on the Atlantic. This isolated rock is located in a storm-tossed area known for its unpredictable and violent weather. The original cast-iron lighthouse proved inadequate against the sea's fury, and was replaced by the current formidable granite tower. Building the new lighthouse was an epic struggle. Over 2,000 interlocking granite blocks were quarried and shaped on the mainland, then ferried out to this tiny, wave-swept rock. Keepers stationed here spoke of storms so intense that water would be forced through the rock-solid granite walls by the sheer pressure of the waves. They described waves breaking over the lantern, 150 feet high, and the entire tower vibrating as if in an earthquake. Life on Fastnet was a constant battle for survival, a lonely vigil in one of the ocean's most unforgiving arenas. For our final lighthouse, we return to the English Channel, to a place that embodies the very definition of a dangerous environment, the Eddystone Rocks. This treacherous reef, 14 miles off the coast of Plymouth, has been the site of a lighthouse since 1698, and its history is one of repeated destruction and rebirth. The first lighthouse, a wooden structure, was swept away in the Great Storm of 1703, taking its designer with it. The second, also made of wood, survived for nearly 50 years before being destroyed by fire. The third lighthouse, Smeaton's Tower, was a revolutionary design built of interlocking granite blocks, a technique that would influence lighthouse construction worldwide. It stood for over a century before the very rock it was built on began to erode, forcing its replacement. The current structure, the fourth on this site, stands as a testament to centuries of learning, sacrifice, and perseverance. The story of Eddystone is the story of humanity's refusal to be defeated, rebuilding time and again, each time stronger, in a relentless effort to place a beacon of safety in one of the sea's most hazardous graveyards. We have journeyed to the wild edges of our world to witness these solitary towers of stone and iron. They stand as silent monuments, not just to the dangers of the sea, but to the extraordinary resilience of the human spirit. Each one is a story of conflict, a battle waged against wind, water, and isolation. They were built with ingenuity born of necessity and manned by individuals of remarkable courage who chose to live on the very front line of nature's formidable power so that others might pass safely in the night. Their lives were a testament to duty and endurance in the face of overwhelming odds. In our modern world of satellite navigation and global positioning systems, the role of the lighthouse has changed. Many now stand automated, their keepers gone, their lonely vigils ended. Yet they have lost none of their power to fascinate and inspire us. They are more than just navigational aids. They are symbols. They represent our relentless drive to bring light into darkness, to create certainty in a world of chaos, and to place a human footprint in the most inhospitable of places. They remind us that for every challenge nature presents, there is a human will to meet it. So the next time you see a lighthouse, whether it's perched on a dramatic cliff or standing defiant in the waves, take a moment to consider its story. Think of the minds that designed it, the hands that built it, and the souls who kept its light burning through the darkest of storms. For in these structures, we see a reflection of the very best of ourselves, our courage, our ingenuity, and our unwavering hope. They are, and will always remain, true sentinels of humanity,